Dude, it's buried under the rock. It's literally, it's just like in the middle of the pathway. Back to the show, isn't that right, Snoopy? Snoopy's still here. My Godzilla shirt is still cool, and we are rolling in dough. I'm kidding. Anyway, June 12th, Kagoshima and Sakurajima. So we packed before breakfast, and had a beautiful breakfast. I loved it. All kinds of good stuff. I don't know how much photos I have, but hopefully there's photos on screen, because it was delicious, and they had coffee, and it was great, and it was, 10 out of 10. Best breakfast I had that whole entire trip, definitely. We got a bullet train, we left the ryokan after breakfast, drove all the way down to the ferry in the van, which was interesting, because again, it's one of those places that has very tight streets and very, it's like mental ass streets, and you're like, wow, how is this guy doing this? And he did, and he did good. And we got to the ferry, caught our ferry back, and then we got our bullet train back to... Actually, no, we got a regular train back to Hiroshima. Unfortunately, I never got good footage of any bullet trains, or actually any footage of a bullet train. I got footage of a train that went really fast a couple of days before this. Yeah, so then we got a bullet train from Hiroshima to Kagoshima, which took about 2 hours, and actually went on the water too, according to the map. We didn't get to see any of it. My ears definitely felt it. But yeah, so then we dropped off our bags at the hotel upon arrival. Got a train to the ferry port. This is a bigger ferry than the previous one that we'd been on. I think they just got bigger every single time, which is really, really amusing. Yeah, so I got the train to the ferry port, caught the big-ass ferry to Sakurajima Island, which isn't actually an island, but is kind of an island. Like, this is the stamp that we got from Sakurajima Island. Because it's actually a big volcano, which wasn't scary at all. But because of an eruption that had happened about 100 years previous, there was a whole bunch of lava that had formed into to Earth, and it had actually joined the island to the mainland. So it's technically not an island. It was. People still call it an island, even though it's not. So yeah. So it's the one with the active volcano. It was a short but nice ferry ride. Just establishing a shot of the map. Dun, dun, dun. Then we hired a car to drive around the island, which is quite nice. I had to control the GPS and the maps, and I actually was fine the whole time. No nausea or anything. It was very nice. That's a good day right there. The first stop was the tourist center, where I got a volcano phone charm with ash. Now, of course, I've been criticized by some friends and family. It's like, why do you keep getting all these phone charms? Like, all you need is one phone charm. I'm like, yes, look, they don't always have keychains. Like, they stopped... Keychains aren't very popular anymore. Magnets are still popular, but not overly popular. And snow globes are illegal, now. So, I mean, you can't take them for customs anymore because they've got liquids in them, so hardly anyone sells snow globes, which was, a big thing for us in our first trip overseas. Anyway, good Togo. So it was the phone charm, which again I'll show you in the last video, and it was actually volcano shaped with actual volcanic ash in it, which was really cool. We didn't stay much at the tourist center, even though it had a whole museum talking about the volcano, because we only had a certain amount of hours to actually be with the car, which was not fun. But then we went to our next location, which is across the road, which was a lava flow field, which they had. It was pretty much a whole bunch of after the volcano thing, eruption from 100 years ago. The lava flow had come down here and had hardened into this beach, which is a very beautiful beach. I mean, it was all lava flow rock, so you couldn't really go on the actual beach itself. But there's a hell of a lot of dragonflies. For the record, dragonflies are my favourite insect, so that was really fun. And they had these little hot springs, but there was one that was just a foot hot spring, so you could just take off your shoes and put your feet in the hot water, and I did. and it was actually really hot, and it was just soothing. And then my feet were like really, really just calm and nice for the rest of the day. Like I hadn't brought a towel with me, but like I dabbed them off with my socks, and then put my socks and shoes back on, and my feet were just utterly relaxed for the rest of the day. So I definitely think there's some kind of calming essence to the hot springs that I'd never experienced before until that day, which is very nice, especially given that I never was actually able to go into a hot spring the whole time we were in Japan. Yeah, so that's a fun fact for you. This looks like a great picnic location. And boats. A lot of boats. There's still some dragonflies in the air. Yeah. We also saw a submarine. Like, I was like, oh, look at that bird on that rock. Because like there's a poster beforehand saying like it was a special bird. I'm like, oh, look, it's a bird. And Dad was like, look, a submarine. So there's footage of a bird and then a submarine in the background. The next stop was the Stone Musician, which was a carving of a Japanese rock star who had performed there. Which there was this big sign there showing you like the whole location. It was like packed out. And because of it, they actually had carved this whole entire stone, which I didn't get great footage of because of the contrast of the sunlight behind it. But for the most part, it was actually quite an interesting sight to look at. So that was just fun. But then we actually went to the grocery store, which apparently they had actually like really like giant fruit and vegetables there. I can't remember which. I think there were turnips was the biggest one, which just reminded me of Mario 2 every time I heard the word turnip. But the problem was that they actually didn't have any turnips because they'd already taken them out of the ground. So turnip season was like over. A longer drive after this led us to the bridge that combines the island to the mainland, as well as the chunk of the new land. So we actually drove over the new land, outside of just seeing all this thick forestry around the whole entire island. We just followed pretty much the one road on the GPS. There was a crater we could have stopped off at, but we decided not to because we didn't have the time for it. And to make time worse, we accidentally drove on the bridge and went on to the next island, and we weren't meant to do that, so we had to take a U-turn and go back across the bridge. So here's the beautiful footage of the bridge, very nice looking bridge, but we had taken the wrong turn. We meant to take a left and we took a right, but it was very the sign wasn't perfect, like the indications wasn't perfect. But we got back on track, and we continued. Yeah, so we drove back across the bridge, and then we headed for the buried torii. We visited the torii, which was kind of strange. Like it was like a mini, kind of small ass museum. Like it wasn't even really a museum. There was just a small building that had some pictures and stuff. It seemed like a kind of place where a school would go on a trip and be like, look at the buried stone thingy, under this beautiful tree. Because apparently when 100 years prior to when the volcano had erupted the previous time, which apparently there was a sign there saying that they knew it was going to happen because 3 days in advance, the fish were dying and all this crazy ass stuff was happening. They're like, we got to evacuate. So they all got off the island. The volcano erupted. A couple of days later, it settled down. They went back up for reconstruction efforts, and they started digging up the torii, and then they realized, actually, let's leave this here as a preservation, but look at this. This is how much the bottom of the torii, they had the picture there, which was 6 meters down or something. So that was really cool. And then we drove back to the port. We dropped off our car and got on the ferry. And ferry ride back was quite nice. There was kind of mild smoke coming from it, but I don't think there was very much. It was just nice to look at from the distance. There was some vents that were still open, so there was some smoke coming through those vents. But yeah, for the most part, it was just cool to see the volcano back from the distance again. Then we got off the ferry and walked to the hotel, because previously we'd caught a train there, but we decided, hey, let's walk instead. So we walked. Then when we got back, we actually went via a shopping center, which was very interesting because my dad was like, oh, this shopping center actually has a cinema. So we were like, okay, let's check out the cinema times. So we went upstairs expecting to be able to watch. I wanted to watch the Sadako movie. It had aired at 1 o'clock, and that was the only screening because it was like the end of the of its cycle of being out in the in cinema. You know, like, and I was like, oh, well, what else are we gonna watch? Detective Pikachu wasn't on. The X-Men didn't come out for another 2 weeks. In Japan, it came out a lot later in Japan, which was annoying. And we both decided, we almost gave up. We were there for like half an hour, almost gave up. Went to the little store there and saw this poster that looked really cool. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll look that one up. And it was called, the movie was called The Confidence Man JP the Movie. I don't know what the JP stood for, but either way. And we decided, you know what? We're going to watch that. Didn't have any English subs or dub or whatever. All in Japanese. And we decided to buy tickets anyway. So then we went back to the hotel, got this footage of the Ferris wheel, which was really nice. I actually had bought a mini sniper figurine from one of the vending machines, which is pretty much, it's like a regular everyday thing, like a matchbox or for some reason a macaroon or broccoli or a dye. But there was a headphone thing, which was all plastic. You combine it together, and you put a sniper in it. And I got that for Noah. And I just thought that was cool, so I got that. And then we went back to the hotel, and then we actually went to a sushi boat place for dinner, which is pretty much, you probably know what it is. It's a chain of, what would I even call it? It's just a thing that keeps going, like a track that just keeps on going, and they just keep putting more like bowls of sushi on it, and you just pick it up, and it had a list saying what each one was, but it also said like, oh, like the blue and white striped ones are the cheapest, then there are the green ones, then there are the red ones, then there were like the yellow and red ones, and like all these different colors, which would indicate how dear they were, which they only ranged from like 140 yen to like 300 yen at the most, I think, maybe 350 yen, so it's like $1.40 to like $3.50 kind of thing. And we had a bite to eat there. It was quite nice. It was a nice pick, something completely different. Still just sushi, but like, it was a sushi boat, so like, you didn't know what you're gonna get until you decided, I'm gonna eat this one. It could be horrible. There were some good ones, and then there was some bad ones. So it was an interesting mix. And it was cheap, so we ate there. And then we went into this big camera store or whatever it was called, and it was a huge like retail department store, like JB Hi-Fi in Australia. It was just huge. No DVD section. The DVD section was like 4 floors up, and when we went to go there, they'd all closed because it was like past 6 o'clock. So we're like, actually, I think because it was past 9 o'clock that they'd all closed. So we're like, oh, either way, I already had enough DVDs. So we then watched the movie, which was at like 9:40, went till like 11:30 or something. So it was pretty late. But it was all in completely in Japanese. But for the most part, we understood what was going on because it was like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour long movie. But we understood what was going on. Like, there was some fourth wall breaking moments, but for the most part, it was this crime mystery thing that I thought a lot of Mission Impossible when I was watching it. And even in my review, I was like, oh, it's like Mission Impossible. But, but Tom Cruise has been split up into like multiple different Japanese cliche characters. And Dad thought of the Thomas Crown Affair. That's what he pretty much compared it to. So I actually will be doing a bigger review on that because on a later day we saw another film of the same. On the plane ride home we saw another film with the same actress, Masami Nagasawa, I believe it is, who was the lead actress in both of these two films. And I'm actually going to do a big review on some of her films. I say a big review, but it's just 5 films, because I actually own 3 of the films that she's in, and I saw those 2 as well. So I figured I'm going to do a review for that. It's a Japan special coming out anytime now. Maybe it's already come out. I doubt it would have come out before this one. But yeah, so that'll come out very soon. Enjoy. But yeah, so I had fun watching that movie, and then we went back to the hotel to sleep. Simple. Yeah. Then the next day is Kumamoto and Mount Aso, which is an actual proper volcano that's live and everything. So stay tuned for an actual volcano. Well, I mean, Fuji is an actual volcano. So was the island that we were out in this episode. But yeah, the next one is smoke and everything, fireballs and all kinds. Okay, it's not 2012. It's just a volcano. It's fine. Okay, so yeah, stay tuned for that. See you next time. Adios. Bye. Bye. Ferris wheel's going crazy.